Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our 2021 CK Black History Symposium Goes Virtual. Typically at this time, we would introduce you to our awesome board of directors, Dorothy and Wyatt Wallace, Bill and Edna Mason, Helen Greenwich, and Betty Milburn. But with COVID protocols, they are all safely at home. We'd also usually introduce you to a guest MC for the duration of the presentation, but again, with COVID, you'll be stuck with myself this time around. We would also like to start by taking the time to acknowledge the land we are located on is part of Treaty 2, the McKee Treaty of 1790. Chatham-Kent is the ancestral land of the Anishinaabe Nation. This spot where we gather is the traditional land of the Three Fires Confederacy, the Ottawa, Potawatomi, and Ojibwe. We also recognize that this land is now home to the Delaware Nation. As beneficiaries of Treaty 2, we must recognize our responsibilities, including our collective responsibilities to this land and the water. Beginning originally as the John Brown Festival, the Chatham-Kent Black Historical Society and Black Mecca Museum has been holding a conference-style event for over 20 years now. In recent years, the Board of Directors decided to take the switch from national and international stories to local stories of men and women from Chatham-Kent's Black community that you may never see in a textbook or on Google, but are just as important to the makeup of our community and Canadian history. The CK Black History Symposium was born from this. Every year, without hesitation, an important member of Chatham's community has come out and videotaped all of our festivals and symposiums. Last year, however, we lost this amazing community member. We will forever be grateful to John Tomachek for all he has done for us here at the Society and Museum. We are continually thinking of his family. Thank you, John, for all you've done for us. You are surely missed. We'd also like to send a tribute to the Solomon family at this time as well, who recently lost one of their family members, Susan. Susan Solomon was a past office assistant, board treasurer, and volunteer with the Chatham-Kent Black Historical Society and Black Mecca Museum. She always brought a smile to anyone who was in her presence, with her kind and joking personality and her love of learning and sharing history, especially family genealogy. She was such a great part of the Chatham-Kent community, and her contributions are so greatly appreciated. Susan will surely be missed by all of us. Our first speaker today is Maya. Maya was born and raised right here in the city of Chatham to parents Stockton and Diana Brooks. Last year she married Kurt Fayoko. She also graduated from St. Clair College in Chatham with a diploma in border services. She currently works at the Blue Water Bridge as a security and administrative analyst. Her passions include sports, hockey, baseball, and golf, spending time with her family, and lending a helping hand to her community and local church. Maya has also spent a summer here as our historical interpreter and continues to occasionally volunteer with us. We are so happy to welcome Maya back again today at our symposium with another branch of her family tree.
Hello, my name is Maya Brooks, and today I'm going to be speaking about two of the most important women in my life. They are from the Shreve branch of my family, and it is my great-grandmother Arnetta Shreve and my grandma Carol Brooks. It's rare and not many people get to experience life in the same lifetime as both their grandparents and great-grandparents, but I had the immense pleasure of growing up being able to visit, spend time, and learn from both. My great-grandmother, aka Nanny, was the eldest of 12 siblings born in Chatham, growing up in North Buxton, Ontario. She was the daughter of Clifford Wellington Shreve and Margaret Ellen Garrell. Born Arnetta LeMay Shreve on October 27, 1930, her siblings included Helen Nadine, LeBron, Ernestine, Joyce Marva, Mary Lou, James Douglas, Etzel, Sandra Gale, Valerie, and twins Brenda and Barbara Lee. As a child, Arnetta attended the little schoolhouse in North Buxton that so many other notable Black community members attended. The education provided there was better than large schools across the province, and that is where her love of learning would have begun. She even wrote about her childhood in the following entitled, I Remember My Childhood, in which she wrote, I remember being told babies came from under a cabbage leaf. A few years later, I was told they came in Doctor's satchel. I remember staying with an aunt and uncle when one of my many sisters and brothers was born. I remember, as a consequence of being the oldest sibling, bathing my brothers and sisters in a big round tub behind the pot-bellied stove in the dining room every Saturday afternoon. Daddy bathed in that tub too. All of us liked bathing in that tub behind the stove in the winter months. It was cozy and warm. My father kept that stove stoked coal and wood all night long. After supper dishes and our homework were done, that fire would keep us warm and jolly when we played games of checkers and with our parents on cold winter nights. On wash days before school, we 3 other kids pumped the water that was heated on the 6-lidded big iron stove in the back kitchen. At noon, we would run home to change the rinse water in the tin tubs. I often got to hang out the clothes and remove them from the clotheslines. On very cold days, the clothes would freeze first, but they started freely flapping in the wind. All of us always looked forward to that first night of sleeping on those fresh-smelling sheets placed on our beds straight from the clothesline. In springtime, one of those multi-use tubs was used to hold the plumpest dandelions that Mother would use to make the clearest, tastiest dandelion wine that would be served to friends at holiday time between Christmas and New Year's. When I was a young girl, clothes starch was often made with cornstarch and water. I loved to iron those starched dresses, blouses, and shirts we kids looked so good in at Sunday school, Sunday dinner, and special occasions. I remember the old treadle sewing machine Grandmother used to make her clothes. I remember us girls standing on a chair while Grandmother marked the hemline on our dresses and slips using yardstick, chalk, and pens. I remember the things Grandmother made for us out of 100-pound bleached flour and sugar bags, pillowcases, nightcaps, slips, and underwear. Our Sunday wear was made from pericle and lace. I remember my sister and me setting the table every night, placing the silver the way Mother taught us and Grandmother taught her. Each of us kids had his or her own place to sit at the dining room table. I sat to the immediate left of my mother. The happenings of the day were discussed at this time. Every meal my mother prepared was a delicious meal. Even during the week, we would have pot roast, fried chicken, or stewed chicken and dumplings. I remember us kids chasing those chickens around the yard, catching them and killing them in the method of our choice. I liked plucking the feathers off those chickens. We always had dessert for dinner too. Gingerbread with brown sugar sauce, rice pudding prepared with lots of eggs and raisins. At my father's request, my mother always prepared enough food for drop-ins. We never sat down to dinner until our father got home from work. We never ate a meal without first saying a blessing. Breakfast during the week was eaten at a long table in the back kitchen. Daddy had already gone to work. Often he would make his own breakfast and take a cup of coffee into the bedroom to Mother. During the winter months, we kids went to school with bellies full of hot oatmeal or gram of wheat with lots of milk. On Sunday mornings, we often had bacon, eggs, stacks of pancakes, or straight out of the oven biscuits with butter and beehive of Crown brand syrup. I remember my father's fried potatoes with lots of homegrown onions. I remember his hominy and head cheese. I remember my father, a sister, and a brother going into the bush and gathering the hickory nuts and black walnuts that Mother and Grandmother used to make the Christmas fruitcake and homemade candy our friends were served at Christmas time. The cake is the same type of cake made to celebrate my wedding. My father, a brother, and a sister would go to the same bush to get our huge Christmas tree. I remember Christmas Eve and us kids leaving satin fruitcake, milk, beer, dandelion wine, and a little whiskey. Santa didn't care very much for the milk and dandelion wine. I remember Christmas dinner in Windsor at Grandma and Grandpa's house. I remember helping strip the orchard and grape arbor for canning. These fruits were used by my mother to make the delicious applesauce and jelly we would put on toast and hot biscuits during the cold winter months. I remember those spring and summer rainfalls, the crackling thunder, the electrifying lightning. I remember the unbelievably fresh smell of the air after rainfall. It always made me feel like dancing. I remember the strong rainbow that followed the rain. For me, it was taken as a message from God, bolstering my faith, my hope, and my confidence in my future. I remember my father getting up in the middle of the night, no matter the weather, and taking a neighbor into town for some desperate reason. Without question or rejecting pay, he would put on his pants and do what he was asked. My father felt this is what you do when a neighbor cries for help. I remember sitting on the front porch steps after dark with my father, my brothers, and my sisters. Sometimes my mother would be free to join us. We would sit there on cool, breezy country summer nights, listening to the grass grow, watching the fireflies, watching a dark sky full of stars, and searching for the big and little dippers. When the mosquitoes started to bite, my father or my mother would ignite an old piece of wool and then allot it to smolder. Quite often, we would hear a villager disturbing the stones as he walked down the country road past our house and well beyond. The night was so quiet we would often make out the voices in conversation and laughter outside the country store quite a way down the road. I remember my father and mother talking after they went to bed. Sometimes my father would tease my mother and she would laugh. That always sent me off on a good night's sleep. I remember so much more. Happy, funny times, by far the majority, and I am so grateful. Here, at the end of this trek down memory lane, my first thought is that I progressed through a charmed childhood, but I didn't. I experienced a blessed childhood in North Buxton, as so many of us did. Her writing so beautiful that it made anyone be able to picture and feel like they were right there as part of her childhood memories. Arnetta married her true love, Robert Glenn, in a spring wedding held on May 31st, 1948. They had 3 children together, including my grandma Carol, and 2 sons, Robert Anthony and William Jason. Arnetta traveled the world. She was extremely influential on anyone who met her, delightful company, and her charm was beyond belief. Arnetta even took her grandchildren on trips and made sure they knew the world was so much larger than just their neighborhood and beauty could be found anywhere. This was instilled onto her children, as well as my grandma Carol went on to many adventures with us kids. One time on a cruise, she even walked the plank. Even after living this life to be with God, she left behind travel money for my cousin Royce, my brother Ben, and I to visit my great-grandfather's grave in Hawaii. While raising her family, Arnetta pursued a career in beauty culture, and in her 40s, she decided to attend the University of Windsor, where she earned her bachelor's degree in psychology and sociology in 1979, proving to everyone you are never too old to keep learning and expanding your mind. Arnetta had so many passions in life and was always willing to donate her time to worthy causes. She even created a campaign used by the Detroit Urban League called Drugs Destroy Dreams. Arnetta was also on the board of directors for Windsor St. Leonard's House, and she also ran a program called Investing in My Future, which taught 8th graders about the stock market. Now, my grandma Carol was born, March 19, 1950. She married Leon Brooks, and together they had 3 children, my dad Stockton, my Aunt Desiree, and my Uncle Noel, as well as an angel baby, Robert Octavius. For 35 years, she worked at the Southwestern Regional Center, and afterwards, like her mother, spent much of her time volunteering. For 10 years, she even volunteered as a driver for the Chatham-Kent Children's Services. I hope that one day the world will see me as having as much love and compassion to give as these 2 wonderful women did. My grandma always saw the best in life. One of her absolute favorite times of the year, besides Christmas, was when the Super Bowl rolled around. Every year, we would place bets of who the winning team would be, and now we've even made a family trophy in her honor for the Super Bowl weekend. I for sure have to also mention both of these fabulous women were amazing cooks, and I'm not just being biased. You could ask anyone who has had their food, but by far, my grandma's biscuits take the cake. I swear my whole family will forever try to recreate them. My great-grandmother was even a published author of Hot Flashes, Sensual Reflections, in poetry and prose. The story of her childhood I shared was also from that publication. A New York journalist, Raoul Abdul, even said this about her writing. In her volume of poems, Arnetta has opened her personal box of gold and given us a glimpse of her soul. She articulates what many of us have felt but not chosen to share these memories with the outside world. As I read through her manuscript, I was reminded of the early works of Gwendolyn Brooks, who found poetry in the lives of ordinary people. This is a book we will all treasure. This review is such a true testament to the kind of lady my great-grandma was and how she taught her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren to be, kicking butts and taking names along the way. A true encouragement of appreciating the things you have and had and always looking towards a great future. In one of her poems, she even talked about her optimism of living until she was 149. Unfortunately, that dream of hers never came true as the world lost this incredible woman in 2017. The following year, in 2018, we also lost my grandma. She passed on Boxing Day, as there is no way she would have left us on her favorite holiday, Christmas. She even made sure to attend one last family Secret Santa with us before joining her mom and God. I will now end by sharing another one of Arnetta's writings with you called My Favorite Holiday. My favorite holiday. A long time ago, I was a child, the eldest of 12 children living in the country with my mother and father. Times were good for us and we were so happy. The kids were disciplined by our mom and spoiled by our dad. There was no fuss about children getting spanked back then. That happened to us time and again. While I was at home, we had to do chores. I had to wash dishes, scrub, wax, and shine floors. The whole village knew our parents loved each other and us kids a lot. We were expected to be good adults and had to be taught. But we were sure glad when school was out and summer rolled around, we got to visit Grandpa and Grandma in Old Windsor Town. Now I tell you that was my favorite holiday. We didn't do much other than eat and play. We still had to go to church, say our prayers, and be polite, but we were always happy and tired when we went to bed at night. On my week, before Grandma and I went to bed at night, we planned the next day's activities and everything included me. My favorite outing, I make keynote, was the trip to Boblo on the Boblo boat. It was the church picnic and adults and kids alike stayed on Boblo Island from morning till night. While the women unwrapped platters of fried chicken, bags of peanuts and cashews, the men solved world problems and threw horseshoes. We kids played volleyball, hit the beach, and got real sandy. It was tough keeping those grains out of our cotton candy. My favorite holidays are now as were then, secure in the presence of family, young and old friends. To finish off, I just would like to thank the Chatham-Kent Black History Museum for allowing me to speak at this year's virtual symposium and for putting this all together. It is always an honor to speak about my family. Thank you again. Bye.
Our next speaker, Deirdre McCorkindale, was born and raised in the city of Chatham. She is a PhD candidate in history at Queen's University. Her area of study is the history of race in North America, specializing in African American and African Canadian history. Her current research concerns the nature of education and intelligence testing in southwestern Ontario. Deirdre is also the former interim director of the Chatham-Kent Black Historical Society and continues to be a member and volunteer with us to this day.
So I wanted to thank Samantha for inviting me to speak at the symposium this year. And I've spoken for the museum at past symposiums, but this year's subject matter was of particular interest to me because we are talking about community members. And I find these spaces can be some of the most enlightening opportunities to learn history. In a lot of history that's distributed to the public, there's a huge focus on people who were the first this and the first that, on how much a person, there's a focus on how much a person accumulated in their life, or there's a focus on how famous a person was. And those are all important things to talk about, but in history, sometimes our laser focus on these perceived ideas of importance can lead to a lot of blind spots in our understanding of people and our history in general. For example, if we only ever talk about a man who wrote philosophy, but we never talk about the woman who fed him or the man who sewed his suit, we aren't really getting an accurate description of his life, his work, or of history in general, because they all work together to form a tapestry of what was happening at the time. So all of these stories are important. And this is a really important consideration, especially when discussing Black history, because Black history in particular is often pushed to the margins because of these perceived ideas of importance. And things are getting a little bit better, but that is still a major issue moving forward. So when Samantha asked me to speak this year, I knew exactly who I wanted to speak about. I knew I wanted to give a brief presentation on the life of Margaret Snooks, a married named Margaret Wright. Margaret was my great-grandmother, and I chose her for many reasons. I grew up hearing brief stories about her on and off, and I wanted to take the opportunity to learn a little bit about her myself. But more importantly, I chose Margaret because I wanted to talk about someone whose life and work was not always valued in the larger narrative of history. And I wanted to expand on the importance of one woman's work and effort to a family to highlight the work of so many women of color that still go unnamed in our history. So Margaret Snooks was born in Sombra in 1904, and the birth date may be a little bit off because the family doesn't have the exact birth date, but that's the date that the government later used. She had two sisters, Mary and Rachel, and one brother named Patrick. Like many women who grew up in the early 20th century, Margaret did not have very much of what we today would consider a childhood. By the age of adolescence, she recalled working very hard during threshing times, preparing food for workers, and it is quite probable, given what we know about people's lives at that time, that she would have started working even earlier than that adolescence recollection that she had. So something that I think is important to discuss in terms of Margaret's life, but also discussing the time period in general, is that Margaret was actually failed by an oppressive education system. Margaret was born left-handed, and when she was sent to school, instructors constantly tried to force her to use her right hand. Forcing left-handed people to use their right was a common practice at the time. Unfortunately, it's still common practice in many places today as well. And throughout history, throughout different cultures, there have been many given reasons for the prejudice against those who are left-handed. And like I said, they stand back hundreds of years. For example, when we look at medieval Europe, there were religious justifications given by the Catholic Church, linking left-handedness to witchcraft and the devil. But in Margaret's case, in the 20th century, it is very likely that her teachers tried to correct her, not because of a religious prejudice, but because of incorrect science from the time. In the Western world, in the 20th century, it was argued that if left-handedness did not, if it went on uncorrected, it would result in the mental degradation of a person. Interestingly, the practice does nothing but harm the people that it is done to, with many studies reporting the development of stuttering, in particular to children who are forced to use their right hand. It's been suggested in The Lancet, for example, in an article in The Lancet, that King George VI, who struggled with stuttering, that one of the reasons perhaps for his stuttering issue was in his early childhood, that he was left-handed and corrected so constantly. And the reason for this is that the practice amounts to trying to force and rewire the brain. And stuttering is just one of the more common reported consequences of this, but there are many other side effects of doing this. Fortunately, Margaret never stuttered. Margaret was not able to hold a pencil in her right hand, and after many attempts, it was felt that she would not be able to learn, and her formal education was dropped. As a result of this, Margaret never learned to read or write. This is a sad story, as are many aspects as we kind of go through Margaret's life, but I really don't want her to be thought of as a victim. That is not the reason that I am telling this story. I don't want her to be pitied. Like so many, she struggled and persevered through adversity, and I wanted to talk about that, and this is a part of her life, and I think it's important to discuss it. And I want to tell these stories of hardship because it opens up a larger discussion about how society functioned while Margaret was growing up, and how it affected real people, rather than me just having, for example, a lecture to you discussing the effects of correcting left-handedness. I'm talking to you about how it actually affected a real person. That's why talking about real people and community members is so important. In talking about Margaret's illiteracy, I hope I was also able to teach you a little bit about our society's history of mistreating and discriminating against the left-handed as well. So again, this is why talking about individual people and individual people's lives are really, really important when we're trying to learn the history as a whole. Through community circles of friends and family, Margaret eventually met Arthur Wright, a World War I veteran about 10 years older than her. And they would eventually travel to Ypsilanti, Michigan, where they were married in a church, which was something that was very special and important to her. They went to Ypsilanti for the same reason that many of our people traveled back and forth across the border over their lives, and that was for work. In Ypsilanti, Arthur worked for a Ford auto plant for a time. They moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and then back to Ypsilanti, with 3 children being born during this time. Like so many people working in the United States, Margaret and Arthur did not have the correct paperwork, and authorities eventually threatened them with deportation, and they had to leave their lives and most of their possessions behind. This would not be this would actually be the first time of many that Margaret would have to rebuild her life. The family came back to Canada, settling in Dover, where Arthur would work as a farmhand and Margaret was a homemaker who assisted with seasonal work. During their time there, Margaret would have 3 more children. In 1939, there was a fire, and once again the family had to start over. This is where Margaret came to Chatham. She and her family stayed at the Taylor Community Center while they were getting back on their feet. So that's a link to our broader history in the areas that they actually utilized and used a really important community asset in the community center right here in the neighborhood. Eventually they were able to rent a house on first on Skane Street and then on Dag Street, and they would have 3 more children. Arthur worked at the William Pitt Hotel, as did so many black men who lived in this area at that time. And Margaret did what a lot of women of color did at the time to supplement income, and that was take-in washing. The washing would be delivered and picked up at the house, and this is an occupation that some may overlook, but the skill and trust that it took to attain clients and keep them was very important at the time. Until very recently, I think a lot of people don't think about this, until very recently, laundry was a very, very intensive process that required a great deal of knowledge in order to properly clean clothing. Knowledge of soaps, stain removal, dyes, heat, fabric, and fiber content were all crucial to something so essential to everybody's lives. This is why, really, until the invention and widespread use of the household washing machine, many people either did their own laundry at home as a pretty much close to full-time job, or if they had the means, they had to pay someone else to do it because it was so labor-intensive and it required that knowledge that Margaret had. And I have always felt that Margaret's job taking in laundry was particularly interesting because not only did she take in laundry for some of the wealthier people in Chatham, she took in the laundry for some people in the medical profession as well, specifically Mrs. Campbell, who was the head nurse at the hospital at the time. And Margaret was one of the only ones who could wash and starch her and a few other medical professionals' uniforms properly to their specifications. And this was very important because those working in the medical field had to be concerned about germs and contagions. And she was so skilled at this that when eventually Margaret had to stop taking in laundry, Mrs. Campbell begged her to keep doing hers. In 1952, Arthur Wright passed away due to health complications exacerbated by the conditions he faced during the war. This left Margaret with 6 of her 9 children still living at home. She was unable to collect Arthur's veteran pay because at that time wives needed to be at least 55. Margaret then moved to Wellington Street and started working as a domestic first for W.P. Turner, who owned a drugstore, and a few others, and she took on extra hours cleaning Eaton's, so that would be after business hours. Eventually, she would work for Jack Beardall, who owned CFCO radio station exclusively 5 days a week with a half day on Thursday. Domestic work is something that we also don't discuss enough in history, even though it was a main source of income for many women for decades, especially for Black women in North America. It's a very important part of Black women's history. Employment could be difficult for Black men throughout North American history due to discrimination and the state of the economy. But when we look throughout history, Black women, in the face of hardship, could almost always find a person who needed the silver polished or their chandelier dusted. This is not easy or glamorous work, and sometimes it is looked down on, in particular because of its association of being women's work. But it was necessary. It kept families fed, clothed, and together. And the women who worked in these houses helped keep them running. Many judges, business owners, and politicians who, again, are written about so much in history, often had a Margaret Wright who kept their lives going. So maybe perhaps they couldn't have did several of the things that they did if they didn't have a Margaret, and that's why I think she's so important. Margaret continued to work for the Beardalls until she turned 55 and was able to collect veterans' pay. She was begged once again to stay on and work for them, but after over a decade of walking 5 days a week on foot back and forth to clean, she was very tired. And to me, this need for Margaret to clean, and for that matter, Mrs. Campbell, who begged her to keep washing her uniforms when she stopped taking in laundry, is symbolic of the power that a lot of Black women were able to wield in their jobs as domestics. While many view domestic service as a lower job where all the power is in hands of the employer, there is evidence to suggest that while there was certainly a power imbalance, this was not always the case. We have to look at things a little bit more deeper. These women were needed and they were necessary, and they built up enough trust in their relationship in skills like cooking and cleaning that gave them the ability to negotiate for better pay, better hours, and less harsh treatment. This is, of course, not universally true for all people working in domestic service, but most things are not universally true. But this was a really big source of power for Black women, especially after emancipation from slavery, because when we look in the history, there are not very many jobs that Black folks had from emancipation onwards where they had the kind of bargaining power that we see in the domestic service trade. Black women in Canada and the United States, in many ways, and again, this is not universally true, and this is not everyone's story, but she had the ability to negotiate her pay. She had the ability to negotiate her hours. She was needed, and there were not a lot of jobs at that time that Black women had any kind of negotiation power. And this is something that makes it worth looking into domestic service altogether. That power really helped a lot of Black families and kept them going. And the fact that Margaret said no to working, no to extra pay and hours, demonstrates a real kind of strong sense of self, too, as well. And that's just a short timeline of her life and occupations, but it's not really a lot about her as a person. She loved to sing, she loved to dance, she loved poetries, she loved riddles, and I said at the beginning that the purpose of telling her story of illiteracy was for a broader education on the issues of teaching at that time, not for pity. And the reason that I didn't want her illiteracy pitied is because while Margaret could not read or write, she developed an incredible memory. Someone could recite a poem to her and she could repeat it back with great accuracy, and she could remember riddles, she could remember names and dates better than most other people, and she knew stories, and this was something that she was able to do to pass her story and her family's stories onward. So while she couldn't read or write, she was quite skilled with her memory and the importance of remembering things, and that's just as important. And not a lot of people have a good memory quite the way that she did. One of her favorite riddles that I was told was this one. While walking down the street, I met a man. He tipped his hat and drew his cane. In this riddle, I told his name. What is the man's name? So I will leave that and see if anybody can guess. She loved to tell stories about her family, and she loved history, which was another reason why I wanted to talk about her. I would like to think that if she was still alive, that she might be a fixture asking questions and giving answers in the museum records room today. The songs she seemed to like to sing were often sad in nature, but her children would still ask her to sing them over and over. She loved to play bingo and supplemented the family's income with her winnings from that. She was never a part of the church community because her work schedule did not really allow that, but she always contributed to community functions. In fact, like so many, Emancipation Day, which has now been finally declared national, it has been finally recognized nationally. It was one of her favorite times of the year because she would bake and cook for the picnic in Jackson Park, and it was a place where everyone gathered, and the friends that she'd missed due to work and distance were always there. She was well known and loved baker. The way I actually know her best is through her baking, because when I make pies, I do it the way that my grandmother taught me, who was taught by her mother. She could make any pie, and family who remember being with her still talk about her cookies and lament never getting her donut recipe. She was a forgiving person who knew what was important in life and encouraged all of her children to advance to the best of their ability. And I wanted to talk about Margaret because regardless of the relation to me, she is a phenomenal woman in her own right. She may not have been the first this or that, but her life is fascinating to me. She is a woman who survived an education system that tried to change her and still remained herself. Her knowledge of domestic skills boggles my mind, and in a time where women were still second-class citizens dependent on their husbands, she was able to keep a family together. She was a strong lady, and her impact on the people who she worked for and the people she was around cannot possibly be measured. People who we think to be ordinary are actually quite extraordinary, and the more we look at their lives, the more we can discover about our own history. So I hope that everybody enjoyed my little discussion of one person's life today, and I look forward to watching some of the other videos about different community members.
Our final speaker of our virtual symposium is TJ Brown, another former employee of the Chatham-Kent Black Historical Society and Black Mecca Museum. He was a historical interpreter and archival manager here. Born and raised in Chatham, TJ now lives in Toronto. A graduate of Western University, TJ is an artist and graphic designer who actually designed the museum logo for us. We are pleased to welcome TJ Brown today.
Hi everyone, my name is TJ Brown, and some of you might know who I am already, but if you don't, hi, I'm me. No, in all seriousness, I am the former historical interpreter and archival manager at the Chatham-Kent Black Mecca Museum, and I would like to thank Samantha for giving me the opportunity to talk to you all today at this virtual edition of the John Brown Festival. In honor of the announcement that a statue of our subject for today will finally be erected outside of Wrigley Field, given that he pitched for the Chicago Cubs for nearly a decade, I thought that I would take the opportunity to talk to you all today about Chatham's own Ferguson Jenkins. Born the only child to Ferguson Jenkins Sr. and Dolores Jackson in Chatham, Fergie's father was a minor league third baseman, actually, and played for a time with the Chatham Colored All-Stars, because black people were not permitted to play in the major leagues at that time. His mother, who was a descendant of slaves who escaped into Canada via the Underground Railroad, pushed Fergie into pursuing pitching. He made his major league debut with the Philadelphia Phillies in 1965, but it was only after being traded to the Chicago Cubs the following year that Fergie really began cementing his legacy. And God, what a legacy. I can't possibly do justice to the entirety of his career with the limited time that I have with you. So here are some highlights. In 1971, Fergie became the first Canadian to win the National League Cy Young Award, which is awarded to the league's best pitcher. He won 20 games for the Chicago Cubs in 6 consecutive seasons, which tied a record. That was from 1967 to 1972. He recorded another 20-win season after being traded to the Texas Rangers. His 284 victories are the most by a black pitcher in Major League history. In 1987, he was inducted into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, and in 1991, he became the first Canadian to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. He was the only Canadian in the Baseball Hall of Fame until Larry Walker was inducted just last year. Fergie is also, unsurprisingly, inducted into the Chatham Sports Hall of Fame. Over the course of Fergie's career, he recorded over 3,000 strikeouts while throwing less than 1,000 walks. Only 3 other pitchers have done that, and he was the first. Fergie's career and accolades are far too vast for me to delve into with the detail that's deserving of this man. And I don't want to dwell too much on the tragedies that he faced in his life. Many people have done that. You can go much more in depth with them if you wish. Losing your mother the year before you win the Cy Young Award can't be easy. Neither can losing your second wife just days after getting word that you'll be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, nor losing your third wife and your youngest daughter shortly thereafter. Tragedy can shape the way that we view the world. It can make us harsh and cold. It can make us apathetic and lethargic. It can make us circumspect and hopeful for the future. From what I've seen in researching Fergie and hearing interviews with him and his family, it seems that tragedy could not break his faith, nor could it make him lose sight of the important things in life. He always kept that perspective. Just as the great highs of his career didn't shake loose the character that his parents instilled in him while he was growing up, he never lost sight of that. And I think that that's important. I want to take a moment to just kind of take this into a personal direction. See, Fergie is actually a relative of mine, distantly, through my maternal grandfather, Dennis Lucas. My mom, when we were younger, would tell stories about Fergie coming over to the house and playing with her and her siblings, and he would give them baseballs and gloves and all that, and he would sign them, and I always thought that was really cool. I always thought that was amazing. And I asked her one day, it's like, well, do you have any of that memorabilia left? And she just kind of was like, no, actually, all of it's lost, because they would just play with it, because they considered them toys, I guess. It was just something that, that their relative brought over, and they just played with, because, that's what they were for. And I always found that kind of amazing. It was, when Fergie came over, the way my mom described it, it was like, just an old cousin dropping by to say hi, just coming by for a visit. And I think that really speaks to Fergie's nature and his character. And I think that that's just as, if not more important than all of his baseball accolades. Interesting note, I can't speak for my extended family because I've got a very big extended family. But I am the only person in my immediate family uh, to have never met Fergie. I still haven't met the man. Um, every single time that he's been in Chatham, I have not been in Chatham. I've been somewhere else, either in school or visiting Toronto or something. I just wasn't in Chatham. I hope to meet him someday and tell him that story, and hopefully he gets a chuckle out of it. Um, so I would like to thank you all because my time is running out. I would like to thank you all for listening, and I hope that you learned something. If you knew all this already, that's awesome. And if you didn't, well, now you know some more about one of Chatham's, if not Canada's, biggest sports heroes. If I'm asked to speak again, I'm probably actually going to talk a little bit about Dennis Lucas, my grandfather on my mom's side, and probably go into my great-grandfather Sylvanus Jefferson on my dad's side, and their contributions to Chatham's Black history. So thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of the festival.
We will be wrapping up today's virtual symposium with a special presentation. Here it is. The east side of Chatham for many years had a very important community center known as the J.G. Taylor Community Center. In the former building of the Woodstock Industrial Institute, an early school built and ran by Chatham's Black community. But over the years, the building was eventually torn down and the need for another community center was high. The community banded together and raised funds to supply the neighborhood with just that, what would soon be known as the Wish Center. On May 11th, 1996, the official opening day of the Wish Center happened here in the east side of Chatham. In the last 25 years, the community center has serviced and provided to so many of Chatham-Kent community members. That same 25 years ago was when the Chatham-Kent Black Historical Society found its forever home for the collection. The society, originally incorporated in 1994, in 1996 marked the year the museum itself began, then known as the Heritage Room. Over the years, the museum's name was changed to the Black Mecca Museum. Join us in celebrating both of these amazing organizations' 25th anniversaries.
Congratulations to the Wish Center and Chatham-Kent Black Historical Society and Black Mecca Museum. You've made so many wonderful contributions over the last 25 years. Thanks for everything you do.
Hi everyone, my name is Rick Nichols and I'm the MPP for Chatham-Kent Leamington. Before I get into congratulations for the Chatham-Kent Black Historical Society for 25 years, I want to point out to you that I have some very important and meaningful memorabilia to me, and of course I think it will be of interest to the Black Historical Society as well. As you can see, the 1934 Chatham Colored All-Star picture, which I cherish, along with one of their baseball hats. And of course, over here we have Chatham's own Fergie, or known as Ferguson Jenkins, who was inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame in 1991. You know, that was 5 years before the Black Historical Society existed. But here we are today, celebrating 25 years of their existence and their successes in the Chatham-Kent area. So congratulations, and I want to wish you many, many more years of production and of course goodwill, much success as well. You know, your efforts in our community have not gone unnoticed, and I truly appreciate everyone who donates their time and is part of the Black Historical Society. I'm looking forward to when I can in fact be in person as opposed to this COVID, but there's light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone in person next year at your 26th anniversary. So again, congratulations on 25, and I wish you the best for the upcoming year. Take care. Thank you.
The Buxton National Historic Site Museum would like to congratulate Tammy and the Wish Center on their 25th anniversary, and thank you for providing a safe and welcoming space for the community to come and grow and play and share. And also to the SAM and the Chatham-Kent Black Historical Society for preserving and honoring the rich legacy that has been entrusted to you. Thank you and congratulations to everyone.
Thank you to the Black History Museum and the Wish Center. Congratulations on 25 years in our community. Here's to the next 25.
On behalf of the Board of Directors and staff of the Amherstburg Freedom Museum, we want to wish our friends at the Wish Center and the Chatham-Kent Black Historical Society and Black Mecca Museum a very happy 25th anniversary. Congratulations on reaching such an important milestone, and here's to many more years of success. Congratulations.
As a former tenant of the Wish Center, I would like to congratulate Tammy and her team on 25 years at the Wish Center. That's incredible. And to Sam, for preserving the history of Black Mecca and Chatham-Kent, congratulations on your 25th anniversary. So 25s for everyone.
To our friends at the Wish Center, congratulations on 25 years and more in this community. Really appreciate what you do.
Happy 25 years.
Happy 25th anniversary to the Black Mecca Museum and the Wish Center.
Thank you for everything you both do for the Chatham-Kent community.
Hi, everyone. On behalf of the Crew family, I would like to congratulate the Wish Center for 25 years of providing safe places for people to go over all these years. Thank you.
Hi there, it's Chris from CKSY. Just want to say happy anniversary to the Wish Center and the Chatham-Kent Black Historical Society. Many events have been hosted over there. A lot of floor hockey games, probably a little bit of blood still on the corner there where I fell down and scraped my knee, but a lot of fun and a lot of good times and a lot more to come at the Wish Center and with the Chatham-Kent Black Historical Society. Happy 25th.
Happy 25th birthday to the Chatham-Kent Black Historical Society and Black Mecca Museum and the Wish Center. Here's to 25 more wonderful years filled with supporting and educating the Chatham-Kent community.
Sending congratulations to the Black Mecca Museum and the Wish Center. On behalf of everyone in the History Department at Huron, thank you so much for welcoming us into your research community. Thank you for everything that you've done to support our students. And here's to many more years of collaboration.
Congratulations to everyone at the Wish Center for an amazing 25 years. I'm so thankful for all that you do, and you're such a big asset to our community. Whether that's the Black Historical Society always being ready to help me with research, or Tammy and Jamie for holding the after-school program and summer camp. Continue all the great work that you're doing, and wishing you many more years to come.
Okay, just want to say happy anniversary to everybody at the Wish Center. Tammy, Sammy, all the people there that I go there to see. That's been very nice to us. Without you people, we wouldn't have had the place down there. And that's why it's been so successful. Hope, keep up the good work, and God bless.
Happy anniversary, 25 years.
Happy anniversary, Wish Center! Thank you for everything you've done!
Hello to the Wish Center and the Black Historical Society and Black Mecca Museum. I just wanted to come on here and wish you guys a happy 25th anniversary. I have enjoyed every single minute spent working and volunteering with you guys over the past couple of years. The museum and the Wish Center means a lot to me, as I think they're doing a fantastic job teaching people in our community and beyond about an essential part of our history. And I've been honored to see the work that Sam, Dorothy, and the rest of the society has been doing firsthand. So happy 25 years. I cannot wait to see what you guys accomplish in the next 25 years. Cheers.
For 25 years, the Wish Center has proudly served as a gathering place in the East End, a community hub open to everyone, and a home to our sister museum, the Chatham-Kent Black Historical Society. On behalf of the Ontario Heritage Trust and Uncle Tom's Cabin Historic Site, I'm happy to congratulate the Wish Center on 25 years of providing a safe, welcoming space for young and old alike. Oh, speaking of old, hi Tammy Lucas. You didn't think I was gonna forget about you, did you? You and I both know that place would have been sunk without your steady hand at the wheel. Seriously though, thank you, Tammy, for your commitment, your passion, and your leadership at the center for these past 25 years. Yours is the first smile I look for when I enter the building, because that's how I know I'm going to have a good visit. Congratulations, everyone.
Happy anniversary. Just wanted to congratulate the Wish Center for being a vital aspect of the community for 25 years. Chatham is blessed to have a community center that is dedicated to educating locals and visitors about Black history within our community. Also, I've had the privilege to work alongside of Jamie and Tammy at the after-school program as well as the summer camp. So I can't wait to see what's in store for the Wish.
Hi, the Miller family would like to congratulate the Wish Center and the Chatham-Kent Black Mecca Museum on their 25th anniversary. We wish you continued growth and success for the next 25 years.
Happy anniversary!
We're so happy to see that the Wish Center has been open for 25 years. I hope they have many more years. We're so blessed to have Tammy and Jamie there. They teach them wonderful things like kindness and love. I'm sure that my great uncle J.G. Taylor would be so pleased with the center.
Congratulations to the Wish Center and yourself, Tammy, of 25 years of hard work serving our community. Thank you, and you are appreciated.
Happy 25th anniversary to the Wish Center. Jamie and Tammy, thank you for all you do for our community. We are so thankful for you, and congrats on 25 years.
Happy 25th anniversary, Wish Center, and I hope for many, many more.
Happy 25th anniversary to the Wish Center from Stephen. Wishing you many more years ahead.
Congratulations, Wish Center, on your 25th anniversary. I have such great childhood memories playing at Taylor Park and swimming in Orville Wright Pool, and the open ceremony for the Wish Center where my grandmother, Sylvia Elliott, one of the oldest descendants in our family, was able to cut the ribbon. What a blessed day. The Wish Center encompasses the heart of our community in the East End and is a foundation for so many people. And there has been such amazing people that have continued the legacy of my great-great-uncle J.G. Taylor. People like Tammy and Jamie, who have mentored the youth and have been so loving and kind to them, as well as the Black Historical Society is at the Wish Center, where Sam and all of its members are doing great work preserving the Black history. Thank you, all of you, for doing such great work. God bless.
Happy 25th anniversary to the Wish Center. I really enjoyed going swimming.
I would like to congratulate the Wish Center and the Chatham-Kent Black History Museum for 25 successful years serving our community. It is so appreciated, and I take great pleasure volunteering with you. Here's to many more to come.
My name is Irene Moore Davis, and on behalf of the Essex County Black Historical Research Society, it is my utmost pleasure to thank you and congratulate you for 25 amazing years of success. The museum and the Wish Center do so much important work in the community, both among the living and in service to our ancestors whose stories deserve to be told. So thank you for all of your service to this region and to all of us who are interested in and passionate about Black history. Take care, all the best, happy anniversary, and here's to many more years.
From all of us here at the Chatham-Kent Black Historical Society and Black Mecca Museum, we just want to say thank you to each and every one of you who took the time to check out our 2021 CK Black History Symposium Goes Virtual. We also want to give a big thank you to all of our guest speakers this year, Maya, Deirdre, and TJ. Thank you so much for sharing a bit of the Chatham-Kent Black community's history with us. We also want to say thank you to all of our volunteers from over the years who have always helped to make our symposium special and a great learning experience to everyone. Thank you. For those of you who wish to make a donation to us, it can be done easily on our website at the following link. And just scroll down until you see this option here. Be sure to put in your correct information so we can send you a donation receipt. We would also like to suggest if you're able to make a donation to our friends at the Wish Center, please do so. They are able to take donations via e-transfer at the following email, and follow up with them at the same email to make sure you get a donation receipt. We also have our J.G. Taylor Community Center Throwback Sweatshirts available for purchase. They can be purchased on our online gift shop at the link above. Or, when we are open again, you can come see us. All proceeds from these sweaters go to our friends at the Wish Center as well. Thank you all again for joining us for our virtual symposium. We hope to see you all out for our 2022 CK Black History Symposium. Save the date now for May 7th, 2022.